Good morning, everyone, and again, welcome to the series Think Like an Architect, which is hosted by Salesforce Architect Group Indore. And as you all know, today we are here to talk about a very important topic about this series and very important session of the series because, as you all know, we already have some session delivered throughout this series or journey. And when I say the title of this session is No Slide, No Presentation, but still I am presenting something. Because to recognize our speakers and panelists, we will have to share something. Okay? So without presentation, we are not going to go ahead. Okay, and if you talk about this series, this session will uh, shape what we have for the agenda today. And if you talk about the session today, we have uh, a panelist, expert panelist. So before begin, I would just like to think again and start from this slide. Okay. Next, what we have before we start, this is something about me. This side Virendra. I'm serving as the leader of Salesforce Architect Group Indore. I'm a speaker that I have spoken in many Salesforce Trailblazer community group or events like Delhi Dreamin. I have spoken and some other session from like Jaipur, Indore community groups. Currently working as a technical architect at Vaha Innovation. These are my social profiles only. I would love to connect with you all. If you would like to follow me, please. Okay. Let's recap what we have for this series covered so far. So if I talk about, uh, we have 6 sessions, but importantly, all these 5 sessions, those are virtually, and six is going to be in person session. So let's recap in quickly whatever we have done. So for session one, that was the background of this particular series and foundation session, you can call it out, where we will talk we have talked about what is Salesforce architect, what is CTA journey we have, what kind of thing we can prepare, and how can we start our CTA journey, or how can we think like an architect. So this is something we have delivered in session 1. If you have not gone through that session or not attended, please follow or open this YouTube channel and playlist there, which is called Think Like an Architect. So you can have a brief overview about the session 1. And if we talk about session 2, from the session 2, Jigar was there, and from the session we were just we were just talking about how can we implement a business problem to a solution blueprint. So suppose in this session, in that session we have discussed about what are the business requirement and use cases we have, how can we think about to delivery or plan everything. So this is something we have done in session 2. If we talk about session 3, session 3 is core pillar of the architecture thing, where we were talking about data security and integration, that is delivered by Himanshu and Neha. So this is something you can go through again if you have missed out. For session 4, that was our last session, where we were talking about important trade-off, limits, multi-cloud, how can we implement, how can we make some decision on some business requirement or something. So this is something we have delivered so far. Okay, let's talk about what we have for session 5. So when I say session 5, no slide, open architecture Q&A, design review panel, this is something we are going to talk about openly. So sometimes if you have any questions that you are looking to answer from someone, but you don't have anything, sometimes you post over the theater group, sometimes you post over some other forum like Stack Overflow, Stack Exchange. So similar kind of curious questions or important things that you are still looking to understand. So what you can uh, see here, you can join this session as you already joined. So you have opportunity to ask those questions and get the answer from our expert panelist. Okay. I will reveal the agenda later, what and how we are going to proceed today. But this is something we have for this series and for session. Okay. So this is the title that we already discussed. Let's talk about our panelists today. So these are three our panelists who is going to be share the thought on all of your questions, and if you have any queries regarding your design, implementation, stakeholders, any integration strategy, this is something you can ask. So who is going to help us? So I would like to call first Santanu, who is Salesforce practice lead from Concentric Catalyst, and I have attended many sessions from Santanu, who is very inspiring leaders in Salesforce ecosystem. So thank you, Santanu, for
Thank
your.
you.
Next to Meera, uh, I remember when I was learning something from YouTube channel or some blogs, Meera was there in some YouTube channels like Apex our TCS deliver some session. So this is something we are looking forward today as well. He is going to provide more insights about our on our questions. So welcome, Meera, today.
You so much, Virendra, and looking forward for the session.
Sure. Thank you. And next we have Kannan. So he has not joined yet, but he is going to be joined soon. He has some other important sessions to attend. So these are the speakers we have. And Kannan, as we all know, he is Associate Vice President and Salesforce MD. So first of all, welcome and thank you all of three panelists. Let's begin the session. Okay. So what we have for agenda today? So as I said, we are not going to present any slide today. So what we have? So clearly, if you see, we have a simple code where we are going to see what kind of questions we might face in the session today later. So just a simple couple of questions we have for the Kahoot. You can enjoy it. I will share the Kahoot ID so you can join it. Next, we have some structured Q&A. So what we are talking about the structured Q&A, like as you know, when we were publishing this session, we have shared some a form link where if you have any question that you are not able to attend this session, or if you want to share some predefined questions, so this is something we are going to discuss. We have received many questions, but high level we are going to talk about some important questions today. Okay, so I will share that questions link, and we will get some input from our expertise panelists. Okay? This is something we have for the structured Q&A. And last, when I say live Q&A, so this is something, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. This is open Q&A session today. So you all are available with your mic. Please feel free to speak. And meanwhile, I have also started Q&A chat. So if you have any questions, feel free to submit if you have not submitted already. Okay, fine. So this is something we have. Let's begin the session and start with Kahoot. Let me stop my sharing and I.
Brenda, what we can do, that since you are actually facing the problem of, so we can start the Kahoot later. We can start taking the questions, whatever you have gathered, so that audience can be engaged.
Sure, that's a good idea. And first thing we are going to talk about performance and scalability questions. Is my screen visible? Can anyone confirm?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the question. Uh, so first we are going to take this one where the situation is in that project we have multiple automations to update opportunity stages, notify sales representative, and create follow-up tasks. So for that particular thing, the challenge is as the sales process becomes more complex, maintaining multiple flows in becoming difficult. Okay, is becoming difficult. So the actual question is what approach should be used to design scalable and maintainable sales automation while balancing the use of flow and effects. So this is kind of mix of things we have. So the more question is the question is more about performance and scalability. So we need to share our thought how we are going to resolve this problem. So I would like to invite our panelists. You can share the thought.
Yeah. So probably I can go ahead first, Virendra. This is a really meaningful question because I guess this challenge is faced by almost all of us in most of the project nowadays. Because when I started my career, the options for automations were very less. During that time, I think we had just S controls and probably then trigger. But later, like Salesforce has introduced multiple ways by which we will be able to automate the system, starting like workflows. I think workflows were there. Then we had like process builder, then it got sunset, then we have this flows. Then people might get confused, like what should be the right option when I would like to implement some kind of customization in my system. That's very natural. And even like, we are facing the same challenge, and in our current project also we had the same situation, like, we have opportunity and we have got another custom object. Between both the objects we had to, like, very constantly do some sync back and forth. And this has caused multiple issues in the system. We are getting very frequent production issues, and when we analyze, we found, like, there exists lot of flows in the system, and there is no proper control on like what is getting executed first, what is the next. There is no proper order of execution. So we are facing multiple challenges based on this one. So I would say the best thing to consider, there are multiple considerations before you make a decision on what would be the correct approach. So what I would say, like, if the logic behind your implementation, the automation that you are going to implement is really complex and it contains lot of logic, then based on my experience, whatever I'm sharing, this is based on my experience. Different people might have different opinion, but based on my opinion, if the automation behind your logic is very complex, it's always better to go ahead with Apex implementation itself, because you will have more control on what you are going to execute. And also, like, even the performance at the backend will be very fast for Apex. And as per my understanding for Flow, right, even the Salesforce internal implementation is something like, when once you create a flow, the flow is automatically going to get converted to Apex, and then it is going to do the backend implementation or backend execution. So you can see, like, there will be a performance lag when you are implementing a logic in Flow, because that will be converted to Apex first, then it will be converted to the actual implementation. So when the logic is complex, always go ahead with Apex. And if the logic is very simple, and if it is a before scenario, especially like, you want to update, for example, you are in opportunity, based on some criteria, you want to update something on the opportunity directly. Those are like simple scenarios where you can go ahead and implement using flow directly. But when you have multiple flows in a single object, make sure that you are using the order of execution. In the flow, you will be able to see, like, you can add a number, like what should be executed first, what should be next. That option is available now. So make sure you are enabling that, so that you have proper control on the order of execution within the flow itself. And the second thing will be, when you have got data load operation or bulk operation performing on a specific object. That is another consideration. If you are sure, like, you are going to have bulk operation getting performed on a specific object, better to reduce the number of flows in that particular object and move that specific logic to the Apex itself, so that you will be having more control, and the, like, performance will be better. Even the org that I'm talking about, right, it's not a huge org, it's a small org with probably, like, 200 300 users working on that, and the amount of customization is also now not that huge. Still, we are seeing that org is having performance issues, because when we analyze, it is having lot of flows, and there is no proper control on like how it is getting executed. Even sometimes we are seeing like the recursive execution is happening. So make sure, even if you have flow in place, that have proper skip automation in place, you have control on when that flow should be executed, when that should not. So that should be another approach by which you will be able to consider how to implement automation. This is a high level thought from my end. Like, Santanu, if you would like to add any additional thought from your end, that would be helpful.
Yeah, great point. Also, on top of this, it might be possible that not only the data loader, you have to think about the other integrations.
Yeah.
Let's say data come from other sources, right?
Mm.
At that moment, you have to think about how the your integration strategy look like, so that data come from different systems, or data may go from your source system to the target system. We have to think through that part also, because at any point of time, once your data might get loaded, your data is coming from different sources, it might also add to your scalability and the performance degradations too. So that's one of the stuff. And second thing is that the Salesforce limits. So we should always consider about the limits, whether it is limiting, whether this in the within limiting your ability within the same transactions or not. Also, I can think about that whenever you are designing as an architect, you should think about what would be the roadmap. If you think about the what is our organizations or the client is going to do in the next 6 months, that will help us to put a right, or I can say optimal framework, input together, rather than putting just in time your framework and the components. So that's my thought about it.
Yeah, those are great points. Like, the
Yeah.
roadmap, considering the roadmap and the
Hmm.
future scope of like implementation is a very key point. Yeah,
Sure.
thanks, Anthony.
Correct.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so if I summarize the answer, what we need to be take care, we need to be think about all the perspective.
Mhm.
Means if the data is coming from any other platform, do we have any integration in place, or whatever we can optimize, or we can set order of execution in our automation. This is something we need to be take care. Correct. But one thing, suppose that I have faced practically, I just want to have high level view from your side. We have already meshed up the environment, and we have many things to do there, but what will be our first approach? Because we cannot change order of execution. Sometimes we when we are going to change order of execution, it is going to be required few more testing, or it might disturb some other logics, okay, in integrations, or maybe it is going to be uh, disturb some other record dependency. So if we are going to change order of execution in the flow, so how will you tackle those situations? Because task is simple, we need to update few fields. So either we can decide, we can go ahead before insert flow, before update, or after insert or after update. But to change the order of execution in a flow or trigger, it might be break some solutions. So how will we tackle those situations?
So that is a very common situation. I guess that's what we are currently also dealing with. So
Hmm.
whenever you would like to fix something in your existing environment, right, it won't be that easy that like what we are thinking, because there are so many dependencies within your system. Like
Yeah.
something was mentioning, like there might be integration or there might be some other stuff also. So this is like I would say not just a technical fix, but this is also a governance approach how we are going to deal with the fixes. So normally what we will be doing, uh, uh, depending on the team's bandwidth, like there might be multiple teams involved in the same environment, what multiple feature teams, what we call, right? And what we usually do whenever we are seeing some issues like this, and if the impact is not huge, like if it is performance related issues that is caused in the system, what we will be doing is we will come up with some kind of technical depth stories, which is to fix the issue. And based on the team's bandwidth, we will be taking those, because even if the change might be simple, but the amount of impact might be higher, and you need to have proper end-to-end testing getting executed. So whenever the team is having proper bandwidth, right, it's not like we are going to implement everything together. We will split it up properly and take small pieces and complete that in a particular sprint. Do proper end-to-end testing, make sure it is working as expected, then push that to the production. That's the normal approach that we are taking.
Correct. Thank you, Mira. Thank you. So that was a very common questions, and thank you for providing all the inputs, Antunu and Mira. Let's
Yeah.
move forward.
Before you move on, so I think there is a one more, one hands up.
Mhm.
So, Rob,
Yeah, sorry, just like I interrupted. There is one thing which I want to share here, like as currently like same type of situation we have when I joined a new project. So there was a scenario like they were having the limit even close. Means they already utilized the limit, even though there is like 15 flows written on the opportunity, and they were keep just adding the flows. So when we join, and then we have tried to make that into the different stages.
mhm.
So like whatever they were having which need to be done into the before section, so all the current one we have remove all the items from them, and we have set it into the before section, and then same for the after section. We have created 4 flow of those 15 flow. Also just involved the assignment instead of just keep updating on the current options. So we have did all the, let's say we are going to update the account or we are going to update the opportunity, so we took the assignment, and like every condition we have checked, and then again the for the next conditions we did the assignment instead of updating the same place. So those changes we did. I thought it might be helpful, so that's why
Yeah,
I.
great point. Great point. Yeah.
Thanks, Saurabh, for add on. Okay, so I think we are good. We have inputs from all the. Let's move with another questions. This is related to stakeholder management. So, uh, I don't think we have categorized or someone has categorized stakeholder management, but this is more related to skill improvement. This is what I'm understanding, because what is happen in every journey, you will have to be think about your path. Okay, so this is related to path only. So what I'm understanding from this question, someone who is looking forward to become a technical architect and want to skill up, this is something related to this questions, and this is not a single question, it is related to uh, complete CTA journey. So we have already delivered a session, but what we can cover today. So Santanu, can you please go ahead and give some tips about this journey? How can a developer become a technical architect, and what kind of skill sets he need or she needs required to become that particular role?
Thanks, Virendra. So that's an interesting question because I have started my journey from the developers itself as a developer to senior developer, lead, and architect. So, what is the skills differentiate between the Salesforce developer and the technical architect? I know that when I started my journey, I have to write a, let's say, we give developer to write a test class. Right? Many a times, what happens that we write a test class, and the test class we write a kind of query. Let's select name from contact where city is equal to Indore. Okay, is a developer's mindset, and developer is to write the test class in the smaller environment of the developer sandbox. It will work fine. The moment it will hit, will deploy the code into your UAT. This code will give you the limit issue because there are more than 50,000 records.
Correct.
So we have to think about that where these code will run and where how the data will look like and what kind of volume of the data it will the org will have. So that's the kind of a mindset you have to bring whenever you even up thinking about writing a simple query. The query will compile, query will run, but query will fail whenever you have a large data more than 50,000 records, right? It will hit the limit. So first of all is that the mindset. So we should think about the holistic view of the system of the org along with the data. That is more important rather than writing a small piece of component. That's the first point. Second thing is that be curious attitude. So you try to learn many things which you may not able to do in your day-to-day basis work or in the project work. There are many other new technologies are coming, many of the releases are coming, right? Let's say Spring 26 releases, right? What are the new things which we have learned that I can implement within my scope of work itself? That is very important. Now, what are the habits you can help us to grow? That is the one is the be curious. Second thing is the study a lot. Okay, right now you can think about there are a lot of architect level of resources available at architect.salesforce.com. Try to learn those stuffs. And most important part, when you if you want to become an architect, first of all you need to understand your subject. You should have a knowledge. Second thing, the ownership, taking the ownership of the work so that I can drive the work also. Then there should be, you should be, or as an architect should be a bridge between our business and the
Develop. Yes.
technical team. So not only we should work on the technical side, but also we should focus on our part because our business communications with the business stakeholders is little different than the way technically we communicate to our technical team. This is a very important part which I have seen that actually because most of the cases the technical team and the architect talks in a technical way rather than the business specific way which our business stakeholders can understand. So that is one stuff. Second thing, and one of the main important part whenever you think about an architect, we should think about the system, how the system will look like, how many number of users are will be using the system. Are you using the right set of licenses? Whether the license has been procured, whether all the features can be implemented or not, we should think about the limit limit of the Salesforce. Okay, we should also think about that order of executions of the Salesforce. If something can be done in the flow, the same thing cannot be done in the Apex. So that kind of a design mindset we should think about. We should think about the framework part of it. For example, in the previous questions, you should let's say you are loading the data in the let's say in the opportunity or any other objects. So this case, the data might be coming from the Salesforce, other than Salesforce, outside of the Salesforce. Now you are actually creating a service class. It might be possible that data is getting entered in the Salesforce system and it will go to the outside of the system, right? Whether that data will go in a synchronous manner or the asynchronous manner, synchronous manner or asynchronous manner, right? So synchronous manner means that whenever you are actually entering the data, clicking on the save button, it will synchronously go to the Salesforce backend system. It cannot be done your standard out of the box way. You should have to have a custom screen to make it happen. At the same time, it might be possible the data might come from the other system. So we should have a kind of a integration framework to put together so that we should have a holistic view from where the data is coming, from where the data is going, and all the stuff. So this is a kind of a brief about what differentiate a architect from a developer. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think we have few more questions which is related to. So uh, the last time looking for this question itself, will AI reduce the demand for technical architect or increase it? So do we have any input from like Mira? Do you want to go ahead and provide some tips? How can we handle or how can we parallelly work with AI and get benefit from the AI, not
Yeah.
from any? Yeah,
Yeah, that's a great question because all are behind AI nowadays. Definitely, it is not going to reduce the demand for sure because it's going to improve the quality of work that you are going to deliver and improve the productivity. I mean, frankly, I mean, something you might agree with me. Like earlier, to come up with a solution, probably you might be doing a POC, you might be trying so many things, you might be searching so many blogs, you might be taking up to 1 or 2 days for even to come up with a design. Now, with the
correct.
help of AI and different like LLMs, probably like in 1 or 2 hours, you will be able to conclude a solution. So that's
Agree.
the power that AI has bring to all the architects, not just the architects, even to the developers nowadays. I am seeing like whenever we are reviewing the code developed by developers, right? I was saying like nowadays earlier it was a bit easy to do the review. Even for review we can use AI. That is one thing. But if you're going to do the manual review, right? Now I'm feeling like I'm reading some like kind of foreign language because it's the way the code is written, right? The AI is producing it in a different way. It is not the traditional way of code writing. Then I will go back to them and ask them, this code is written by AI or by you? Then I will tell like, no, this is given by AI. Then I did some changes because we'll be able to clearly understand that this is written by AI.
It's
And
great.
different platform is producing in different way. Probably like Copilot, Agent Force, those kind of code produced by Agent Force and Copilot is somewhat similar. What I felt is like when we ask ChatGPT, the code structuring is somewhat better actually. But when we ask Agent Force and Copilot, right, they will try to modularize it and make it so perfect that it is difficult to understand or follow. That's a problem that I mean, you might be having different types of experience, but that's what I felt. But with respect to the a usage of AI, right? We need to make best use of AI actually, not just for, especially for technical architects, right? Not just with the solutioning, but even with diagramming. Like I guess when we are talking about the skills that needs to be developed for an architect, right? In addition to communication, because communication is one key point that's something also highlighted. The other part is like coming up with diagrams. It might be related to the complete architecture of your system, or it might be ERD that you are going to come up, or it might be flow diagrams. There might be multiple diagrams that need to create daily. Now, like earlier, we used to sit and draw that utilizing different lucid charts or some other tools. But with the AI capability, even lucid charts, all other different platform are having even the diagram generating capability. So it will be going to give you the skeleton or somewhat whatever you need, and you need to now spend very less time in modifying that and presenting something to the business. So I would say like introduction of AI has like improved our the way by which we are working. So it's a blessing actually.
Hmm.
Yeah, I also second that also because it will increase our technical architects' demand. Why it is so? Most of the cases AI are the tool based, where technical architect think about holistic view as an enterprise level. That part is missing. Whether gaining the time to market or time to produce, we should not compromise our quality. That is most important.
Hmm.
Many cases you can see that AI will generate the code, that it will be easy inserting the data in the code. It's a very easy, but whether it is checking whether it is hitting the limit or not, that kind of a manual part is very much needed, which may not be possible through the AI itself. So that's why the technical architects comes into play.
Correct. Okay. So fine. I'm seeing a couple of more things that we can discuss. So quickly,
Mhm.
what I'm understanding here, I would like to include something. So one more question, interesting question, where asking for advice, like how can we set a part to become technical architect in next 3 to 5 years. So I think don't set a boundary or a kind of limit to become a technical architect, because it's a continual learning journey. Okay, so I will provide some tips from my side, like what kind of thing I'm tackling right now with while talk about communication. So for communication, we have some checklist. Checklist means if we are handling a migration project, we have a different set of checklist there that we need to follow. Or they, like we will have some highly important point that we need to be critically handled first. Okay, so this is something we need to design data model first and think about what we have into the legacy, what we have into the new Salesforce CRM. First design the data model, then we'll implement something. This is the one example of checklist. Similar type of checklist you need to be prepare or keep handy if you are looking or targeting to become a technical architect. So what you need to do, you need to prepare a separate checklist with your experience and learn something from Salesforce ecosystem and continue add on into your checklist. So this is something you will have proper path to become a CTO. This is something I want to add on.
Great point.
Maybe I will add one point to that, Virendra, if I can.
Please. Yes.
So I was in the CTA journey for the past 3 years at least. It was
Mhm.
not a successful journey. I have to make a stop because of I appeared to appear the board also twice. Like first time it was really bad, second time it was far better, but still I couldn't reach there. But I would say the journey was really amazing because you are interacting with so many people in the ecosystem. The architects who are working with other companies, because each one of us are coming up with different level of experience. Our customers might be different, the type of project that we are handling might be different, the scale of the project will be different, and each person is coming up with his own experience. And when you are interacting with multiple people in the ecosystem, right, the level of knowledge that you are going to receive is amazing. I can personally understand the difference within myself, like how I was before like 3 or 4 years, and how much I have improved this time. That's a huge difference. That's because of the learning I'm getting from the community. And one thing is, don't feel ashamed at all for asking help with others. Like, when I started the journey, I was under the impression, like, I know too many things. This is not difficult. This is something I can crack very easily. I was in that mind. When I started the journey, I realized like this is not that simple. It's not just on the CTA journey, on the Salesforce architecture itself. It's really vast. There are so many things to learn, and there is nothing like, there, don't feel ashamed of telling or informing someone, like, if you don't know something, it's always okay. Like, go and ask someone else for help, and there are so many people with lot of experience there to help you. So, start that journey. I would everyone cannot get into like a CTA title, but at least if you're into that journey, right, it's going to help in your uh, even your career very much. So that's one other piece of information or advice I would like to give.
Yeah,
Thank
great
you.
point. Great point.
Okay, so I think we are good to go ahead, and we have advised many things that is going to be helpful, I believe. Okay, and other than you can watch the recording of the session one that we have delivered. This is more about CTA journey or related to this question. So feel free to review that recording. Next, we have something from the integration strategy point of view. Uh, the question itself is very long, but what I'm understanding highly, uh, in the system, they are facing some problem or they are looking to stimulate the process or best way to handle the storage or record limit. So something related to our data storage or file related things. So who would like to go it, either Meera or Santanu first? So help us for this question.
Yeah, I can go ahead and then Mira can chime in.
Hmm.
Integration strategy of the large file. So first of all, you know that the Salesforce has a file limit at the data limit, right? So in that case, if you want, we do not want to dump Salesforce files in the Salesforce itself because it will incur the cost. So what we can do, we can create a other low cost storage like AWS or any other storage or cloud based storage, which is a low cost. Mainly AWS, you can think about that, because Salesforce also provide connectors to upload the file or the file connectors from Salesforce to AWS. So we can store those kind of files into AWS and take the link and put and store the link into the Salesforce itself. So that way you can reduce the cost of storing the file into Salesforce, as well as efficiently you can put together in the Salesforce, in the outside of the Salesforce itself. And any point of time you can, let's say if user wants to view the file, what you can do, you can just you have the link to that file so that you can open the file into that from the AWS. So that's the one way. That's the one way I can think about, because I have implemented the similar stuff in my one of my projects. Mira,
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, just to add to that, I guess, like Sandra mentioned, like we have got two approaches. One approach he also already highlighted, like, utilizing the customized approach where we are going to have our custom solution to archive that to an external data storage system and then store the link to that documents within Salesforce, and like then probably use some custom approach like LWC or something to show that. The other easy approach, probably I would say, like, use some kind of app exchange solution. There are so many app exchange products available, which is providing you like two approaches. Basically, one is like they are providing you the end-to-end solution, that is a connector to Salesforce for archiving your file to an external system, and also like reviewing that back to Salesforce using the same connector. So example like X-Files Pro, there are some other app exchange products which will help us to do the same. The advantage is that they have got their own mechanism by which the data can be archived or scheduled to archive. No, data files can be archived through external data storage. And the other advantage will be automatically. The other aspect is like the security of the files, right? Whenever you are bringing that file back to the sales source, you need to make sure only right person is accessing a particular file. So those all will be taken care by the external app exchange product itself. Now the other second app exchange product option is like, they will just you have to come up with your own storage mechanism, but the middleware is going to help you with the archival process. So that is another option probably you will be able to explore. The easiest one will be like use a single solution which is going to help you with the storage and the like
correct.
retrieval and archival.
Great, great, nice.
Thank you. I have one thing to add on for this question because similar type of work I have done for a project. So what was the requirement there? Whenever we are uploading any file into the system, it is going to be uploaded into the SharePoint system or SharePoint site. After that, it is going to be delete from the Salesforce system. So we will have less storage there, and everything will be uploaded into the SharePoint. And one LWC component we have built there, which is going to be retrieve the file based upon the folder structure. And folder structure just a combination of account name or just order number. Okay? Based upon that, we will be uploading into the SharePoint directory. So what kind of challenges we have? Like one challenge is uh, this is something coming from the integration user, and we have exposed uh, or provided permission to integration user where file is file might be private or critical, which is related to that particular order or that salesperson only. But
Hmm.
that is exposed, and someone is going to be view the record. So from the LWC, it is retrieving the data and exposing the file there. So how can we control that kind of integration if we have just a high level thought, not a detailed
Yeah,
solution?
Yeah, exactly. That is what you need to take and care when you are showing the files or data which is stored externally. So,
Hmm.
like Santanu was mentioning, right, when you are storing the links back in Salesforce, you also need to check how we are going to control the file access. It's most of the time based on the record level access. If you have access to the record, you will be having access to the files also. So what you need to do is when you're storing the links within Salesforce, you also need to store the associated record. Then before displaying that to the user using LWC or whatever it is, you need to have an additional check to make sure that the current user, whoever is viewing that, is having proper access to the parent record so that he will be able to see the file also. Otherwise, completely block him. So that kind of access restriction also make sure you are implementing as part of file archival.
Thank you.
Great. I like to add one more point, a very
Hmm.
interesting point. You
Yes.
know that we are talking about the optimal approach and suboptimal approach, right? There are many other approaches, right?
Hmm.
Most important part, we should ask the client, what is your budget? Based on the budget, we should properly align what our strategy look like. That's where the architect comes. Okay, let's go
100%
ahead.
agree. You might be coming up with very great architecture diagram and all, with like
Mhm.
great solutions, great products
Mhm.
and all, but your customer might not be having budget to support that one. That's a very great point, Santanu. Yeah.
True.
That's why stakeholder management is the core skill of any CTO
True.
or architect.
Hi, Kanan. Thanks for joining.
Yeah. Hi, Kanan.
Oh, thank you. I can see already my some of my favorite MVPs here, Shantanu, Meera, and everybody.
Correct.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Virendra, for
Thank
having me.
yeah.
Did I
Thank you,
miss out
Kanan.
anyone else? Hope any other MVPs, leads, community leaders here.
Yeah.
Uh, I think you have from our panelists,
Okay.
not other, but we all are here from the Indore community and other community member also joined here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Warm
Thank
welcome to all of you. Sorry, I was hosting my community
you.
event, so we just finished and then joined.
Yeah.
Please
Yeah.
continue. Continue.
Yeah.
Nice to
Thank,
be part
thank
of.
you, Kanan, for your commitment and join here as well. Give us time. So, just give you overview what we are doing here before we proceed. We had two segment for this session. We are on the segment one where we are just discussing all the existing questions that we have received from the form, and we have done a couple of questions. Few more we are going to address. Then we will go for the live Q&A. Okay. So, thank you.
Sure.
Let me proceed where we were. So we have done this question, I believe. From attendees, if you have any questions or if you have any solution around this situation, please feel free to raise your hand and speak about. Do we have anyone? No? Okay. So let me go ahead with another question which is related to org strategy. Mm, Let me summarize it. Sorry. Okay, so the question we have which is related to org strategy, and what I'm understanding, they have said business requirement here. There is a company named Cloudy that recently acquired another company. Okay, and what they are looking to have a Salesforce org setup with different integration and process. Now the goal is to bring everything under Cloudy's roof. Being an architect from Cloudy side, how could one approach this? Okay, so this is something what I'm understanding as an architect, what kind of checklist or checkpoints you must have handy, okay, to maintain that kind of project or strategy. So, okay, as I mentioned earlier, if you are into the CTA journey or path and you are going to handle that kind of situation, what you need to be take care, you need to be uh, just get from your previous experience and prepare a complete checklist. Okay, so one of the example I said, I was handling a data migration project where I have done similar projects earlier as well. So what I have done at the time, I prepared a complete data mapper or sheet, what kind of source object is going to be what kind of fields that we need to be mapped and get the data. Because if you are dealing with that kind of data migration, the data type will be very challenging for you. Okay. uh, because if we have large data there in a particular record field into the legacy, and we are going to bring similar data into the new org, sometimes we might face some limitation. So for that particular thing, you need require data mapping. That is one checklist item. Second checklist item, about the, after the data mapping, you need to be take care about the sharing, okay, and the security. So these are the two common checklists you need to be very careful before design anything or before handling that kind of project. I would like to invite our panelists to provide more tips or uh, for this particular requirement.
I can
Karan, you
add
like
that.
to go? Yeah,
Sure.
please.
Yeah.
Meera, you want to go?
Maybe I will add just one point on this one because when I was on my CTO journey, this was one area where I was it was a bit challenging for me. I was not able to come up with proper strategy on how to decide the correct org strategy. So I talked to multiple architects, gathered inputs from them, like then got some high level idea on probably how you will be able to make a decision on org strategy. Just sharing high level inputs from that, maybe like Kannan Santanu, you based on your experience, you will be able to add more details from a high level, right? This use case will be coming most of the time when a company is doing an acquisition, right? The company is acquiring some other company, and both will be having their own Salesforce instance. Then we have got two different approaches by which you will be able to deal with this. One is like completely keep those two instances separate, or you will be able to merge those. These are the two options. If you are going out with the first option, there are some considerations, like the business functionalities associated with both the environments or both the instances entirely different. There is no similarity between the functionalities or business process executed by the two environments. The second thing is there are no common users or no common business users or personas associated with the two instances. And like then the third thing is there might be some kind of regulatory requirements because of which you need to keep the instances completely separate. These are some of the considerations you might need to take care if you before making a decision, if you need to merge those two instances or you need to keep those two separate. Then if you are planning to merge those, then better to take a phased approach. Maybe I would leave the remaining things to Kannan and Santanu to add some additional points.
Sure.
Thank you, Meera.
Sure, thanks. I think you touched on important aspect, Meera. So that is what I was going to start off. See, even if you are an architect and you have been already told that, hey, you know what, this is what we want to do, right? At times, customer will say, okay, what I want to achieve, right? And they hand it over to you. Take a step back. Don't immediately jump into how to do that. First, ask set of questions. Like that is what would separate you from the rest of the architect. Right? First, you ask, okay, what is the business outcome you are looking to achieve here? Number one, right? Why they are even come to this decision, right? Single versus a dual org or a multiple org. You also have to look at the organization's culture and the autonomy that they want to achieve, right? I will give you an example, right? There could be a B2B, a telco customer where, one of the ones that I handled long back in my career, they had a B2B and B2C division, right? Or many times when we looked at it, their processes were so much, different. And it made sense to keep them separate as a two separate instances. As an example, I'm saying, right? So you have to get to that view of, okay, what is the autonomy they have. And then another thing is each business unit was funding their own org, right? Salesforce instance separately. And with that, they had their own the software engineering teams, and they had a different frequency with which they were going with the releases and etc. And having a single org would have been a catastrophic there, right? Would have created a lot of friction. Other one is you look at the regional alignment, and there are some regulations that come with that also. For example, you have North American versus say Europe, right? So you want to do a data residency, right? You want to ensure in that case, Hyperforce gives you two separate instances. Even if the processes are very much aligned, it is okay to kind of keep them as two and have a single repository, right? Capability repository, and then like a factory model, push those into two different. As an example, I'm saying, right? And also look for the benefits, right? What kind of a tangible benefit I can come up with. For example, single instance can give you a license consolidation and so many process alignment and etc., right? Which in a multiple org you may not have it, right? My thought process here is you think through all of them before you take a step of going into doing a, whether it's a single or a keep it as a dual org. There also, once you start doing it, you would probably would start with a process, right? You kind of try to look at the process, do a process alignment, and then you have to decide which org wins, right? You have to do a base level of analysis, right?
Great point.
Understand what kind of a level of technical debt or your ideal scenario of implementation, right? Which org is kind of closer to it. So there may be something best in both the orgs, right? You may want to bring capability from one org and then you make that as a parent versus the other one, something. So there are multiple things. I know in the short period it becomes very difficult to dump everything. But my point here is the message I want to give is please don't jump into immediately. Don't treat this as a technology or a technical work. It is much beyond technical work. So approach it with a lot of regulatory, business outcome driven activity. Then you'll be more successful.
Yeah, great point. Kannan, I'd like to add one more interesting point that
Yeah.
whenever you, let's say your business process is same, your data residency would not be a problem. Even if, let's say, if you want to merge those kind of a two or the multiple orgs into single org, we have to think about that what is the number of licenses. Let's say community user, how many community user, whether we are hitting the limit or not. Second thing is that the data is coming from different sources along with the different org. Let's say account, in the account, whether we are putting more than millions of records or not, that will actually slower our performance in the list view and the reporting part of it. So we should think of how the query will look like. So dumping the data also, if the process is also similar, but you can think about that whether we'll dump all the data or not. There are so many files might come or accumulate into single org. We should think about that, how the file can be accessed, how the data can be accessed, what is our limit, how our integration framework will look like, how our data visibility will look like. Even if in the single org, we should also think about those kind of salient points. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you, Kanan. Thank you, Santanu and Mira. Um, okay, so we are good here for this org strategy point of view, and whatever inputs or required things we need to be take care. Please note down those things into a proper checklist and set a order. What kind of thing you need to communicate with the stakeholders first on priority, then start or implement something. So,
One thing, sorry, I will add one more point.
yes, yes, please, please.
Leverage AI. Okay, wherever it is possible, use AI. I mean, I will give you one that we are working on without giving so much of our secret sauce what I'm working on, because it part of being the CTO team and then innovation is one that we have to bring in. We are recently, I mean, as recent as last week, right? We have kind of had this specific use case that we are trying to solve with Claude and other Gen AI models, right? What we did, we took two instances and then we tried to do this analysis, did a reverse engineering. It came out with from a code, it came out with a lot of documentation and various these architectural pillars, right? Then we kind of compared, right? All this was all done with AI, right? After I think about 3-4 hours, Claude was a little bit faster, but GitHub Copilot was a little bit slower. But we kind of, you know, sharpened with a lot of prompts and everything. It gave me a kind of a blueprint of how do you approach this activity of, you know, validating or evaluating two orgs, and then if you want to do a merger, whatever consolidation, how do you go about it? So,
Yes,
so leverage some of these newer capabilities. You don't have to kind of go, because earlier, right, by 5-6 years back, I had this as one of the standard question in my interview, right, with people. Okay, how do you kind of go do it? First thing is you go to the setup, or you get this checklist or whatever, that assessment report, and then analyze it, right? Now, if somebody were to tell me, then I will think that, oh, okay, you're not caught up to the AI capability, right? So use AI wherever it is possible.
True.
yes.
Absolutely.
We can utilize the important prompt the message there. Put the specific business requirement. Suppose we have two business units. One business unit is doing integration with NetSuite, and one business unit is doing integration with other tool. So we can ask and mention this particular problem, or then on behalf of that we will have some idea from AI. Yeah, so in that way we can utilize. Thank you for all the tips. Okay, next, integration strategy. So mostly we are receiving the question from data security and integration strategy, which is more common and important factor in any architect design. Okay, so for this one, I think I can go ahead and talk about what. Uh, then later you can add on. So important thing as per my understanding for this integration strategy, we need to be take care and plan or the data ownership first. Okay, data ownership means if we have many legacy system in place, we will have proper plan or identification which particular legacy system is providing what kind of data. Suppose one legacy system is only providing lead, another legacy system which is more providing other data from marketing side campaigns or other things. Okay, so we need to be think about and set the ownership of the data. The second, we need to finalize the integration pattern. Sometimes we don't need required real time data, sometimes we need required kind of near real time data. So we need to be divide those things and plan integration strategy accordingly. Suppose if we are planning to prepare a report, for that report we are good to have a 5 minute delay, so we need to take, we need require a real time integration there. We can provide or implement integration in that way where data will come after 5 minutes or some delay. And if we need required integration in real time, like if we have some order integration or some order is placed, so we definitely need required to billing on time. So their time is very important or critical things. So on behalf of that only, we need to set up our integration strategy. After
Great.
that, I will go it with security. For security will be more critical. Security means if everything is coming into the data, we will have concrete security patterns or settings into the system. Okay, so this is something in integration we will have proper or continuously error handling or reviewing status in our system or project. So these are the core tips. We will have more tips from our panelists. So feel free to add.
I think, Virendra, we should open for our forum that anybody can chime in. If
Yes, yes.
anybody has any
So
point,
it's
please
already
chime
open.
in.
It's already open. If someone can,
Please raise your hands and unmute
please
yourself. Please.
don't be shy. Please feel free to speak. If you have better idea or better answer for these questions, can anyone?
Yeah, I think based on the experience details that they shared, all of them are having very good experience in Salesforce ecosystem. So I'm sure, based on their past experience, they will have a lot of things to share.
Definitely. So I would like to invite all the attendees. Feel free to speak, share your experience. If you have any other questions to ask, or if you have any other solution which is better, if you have practically done it, please share.
Yeah, let's move on. I think nobody has raised the
I
hand.
would like to share a couple of points on the
Mhm.
integration strategy. So, two things I would generally prefer in this kind of a scenario is if there is a middleware involved, because there are multiple legacy applications, each might be having different uh, either protocols or the payload variation. So, middleware would be preferred in such scenario, either MuleSoft or any kind of microservice. And second would be I would prefer to have a event based integration for these kind of scenarios. So these would be the preferences, but again depends on the actual system, how they are interconnected and what they support. But as a matter of principle, these two things is something I would consider always.
Great point.
Thank you, sir. That's the one. Okay, do we have anyone? Or fine. From our panelists, do you want to include any other points for the data integration strategy point of view that you have faced in your projects? Or
I think you
Maybe
have covered actually. Mira, you can go ahead.
no, no, Sandra.
No, I think I'll not go ahead actually. So don't. Yeah, please go ahead. So I think you have already covered many of the stuff. So we have to conscious about the time also.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, definitely. Uh, so let's move on to the another question which is related to data model. and again data model, very critical things that we need to be take care. Either we are planning to have a particular field, whether it's going to be a lookup field or external or master data field, where we will have to be take care while designing any data. And it's more about we have 80 million plus records there. So feel free to add your tips, request to panelists.
Yeah, I can go ahead because I am facing the similar stuffs for one of the clients they're asking. And you know that whenever, let's say, if you have a custom object which has grown 80 million records, now think about that. Whenever you have a think about the data, we should think about whether we want to touch it or we want to view it. That will actually signify what kind of a performance bottleneck you have to face. Now, that is one point. Second point is that within your org, please check what are the objects are available readily, whatever the license you have procured, that freely can store the data. Most important part, the product object, the asset object, the biggest asset object will store the data, but it will not incur any kind of a data size or data volume in the org. Most important part. Okay, so try to use those objects whenever you have a multi-million records. Most important part, you have to think about whenever touch it or view it, you have to think about how our reporting will look like, how our list view will look like, how our query will look like, whether the data will create a kind of a lookup skews issues or data skews issues or not, whether we can segregate the data in the multiple others relatable objects that will bring much better performance or not. Are you archiving the data in a proper way rather than storing 80 million records, which will incur the data size as well as the your cost of storing the data. So these are the things we should always think about that whenever you have these kind of a data residency kind of a requirement. Thank you.
Yeah, completely makes sense. I think you covered pretty much most of it, Shantanu. So yeah, view versus edit, how you want to use this, and yeah, you also talked about the recency part, like an archival. Is there a,
Yeah,
can you do that, or summarize some of this data and keep it elsewhere, right?
yeah.
We can also evaluate the use of all the fields, how much it is used, try to do
Mm,
shrinking, all the LDV techniques you talked about it.
yeah.
One last thing is, okay, if you are going to update the data or insert the data, can you do it in, should you really do it in real time? And again, depending on the business need, or can you stage it and do it offline, etc. But you have covered everything. Yeah.
Great point. Great point.
Thank you, Kanan and Santanu. Okay, let's have one more question which is related to trade-off decision and uh, for the scalable design. I think the question is more about how can we plan for a short-term and long-term scalable design. So I believe everything should be planned for the long-term perspective only. But if anything comes around the short-term fix, uh, how can we decide or how can we justify this business or step?
Meera, do you want to go? Yes.
So, I do not have much points on this one. Basically, like you mentioned, Virendra, we should always go for long-term scalable
Okay.
solution only. Most of the
Yes.
time, when we are restricted to short-term fixes, is because of some business priority or like budget-related issues. Those could be the reasons we will be getting restricted to a short-term fix compared to a long-term fix, long-term solution. That's what I can think about. I cannot, I mean, no particular example is coming on top of my mind. So if any of you would like to add some additional details, please go ahead.
Completely aligned with that. Just an extending to it, the risk is the one that additionally you can kind of consider,
Hmm.
like,
Yeah.
I mean, business priority, etc. Aligned with that, yeah, how much time you have got. I mean, if the solution is built for so long, touched by multiple people, do you want to put a band-aid from a risk perspective, and how business critical, say business critical, app that you are trying to touch it, right? I'll give one, I will take 30 seconds now, just to kind of give a lighten up the mood, right? Uh, so I was a mainframe programmer for all my years, right? First 15, 20 years, right? Then I moved on to, before I moved on to Salesforce ecosystem, I was briefly on to open source, right? .NET. and something. So I was the primary lead developer, and I had to design a system to do process your input records and everything, and a timesheet. Right, it is a very highly critical one. Right, I was building a solution in .NET. All I knew was mainframe programming. So I did not, when I was trying to kind of process the input, incoming records and everything, the way I did it was like in Unix C model, right? I was going through line by, character by character, doing some kind of a looping and everything. You won't believe, after doing the 3 months of a project, it went into production with one QA defect. It was working perfectly well. However, the challenge that came there was subsequently a true .NET programmer came and touched it. He was kind of having it, the head was spinning. He said, hey, there are so, whatever you have written a 20-line code, right? I have one function, .NET function. You could have used it, right? So I was having that kind of mindset. So if you happen to have a kind of a lucky situation of getting that kind of a code, you may want to do a band-aid. Don't reinvent the entire wheel. Let it hope for the system will kind of get retired soon, and then maintain it. So I mean, just lighten up the mood. I'm just saying this, but
Great.
again, it all depends on the situation, right? Where you are, but obviously, ensure that your risk is kind of considered whenever your business risk is considered. Yeah.
Great point.
Sure, thank you. And I believe short-term fix is not a solution, but short-term fix might be coming up with more escalation in future. So we'll take care accordingly and decide your things. Short time. Okay. Do we have any example of? Let's ask audience and see if someone is sleeping or not.
I think somebody has raised the hand. Santosh has raised a
Okay.
hand.
Yeah.
Have.
So I think I have a perfect example of this. So short-term fix and long-term fix. So how you basically justify that up. So we were working on an MVP. So ideally we have to understand that what kind of impact it's gonna have and what kind of business impact it's gonna bring if we are going with a short-term fix. So our MVP was getting derailed because the other team who were supposed to work on integration were not ready with the fix and they were not having the bandwidth. So what we did, it was like we were migrating from one org to other, and the other org was supposed to be live for another year. So instead of we approaching the other team to come up with the integration quickly, we connected our two Salesforce org to bring the data from the previous Salesforce org to this one. So that was an intermittent solution just for the MVP, so that you are not losing up anything, but it was actually holding a long business value. It was having a big impact. So instead of waiting for the other team to lift and shift the entire integration from this Salesforce to the other org, what we did, we took that opportunity. Of course, we have to spend some more time on it, but yes, it has bring a lot of business value to business, and they were actually okay to go ahead with MVP. Otherwise, the entire MVP was supposed to get derailed for a kind of 3 to 4 months. But just putting up I think a extra week of effort, we were able to pull this up together. So I think sometimes it's not about that how short term fix is going to get it's gonna impact, or it's gonna you're gonna lose some time over there, but we have to think with a holistic view that how it will have a impact on the ongoing stuff, and how you can continue with your work without getting the things impacted. So sometimes short-term fix is also necessary depending on the business requirement. But yeah,
Great.
always we have to think of a long-term scalable design. But this has actually helped because I will give you what we were doing. We were merging 4 different orgs together onto Salesforce. So I was trying to unmute myself when we were talking about the multi-org strategy also, but
Yes.
somehow I was not able to. So I shifted
You
to
can
my tab
proceed.
from my phone.
No, you can
So I
proceed.
was having an example over there also.
Hmm.
But yeah, so
Great
this has
point.
actually helped. Otherwise, this entire project would have got derailed by 3 to 4 months, and you can see the impact when 4 teams coming onto one org. If that is getting derailed, it will have a quite huge impact. So this short-term fix was really needed at that point of time, and we took this decision, consulting all the members, and we went ahead with it.
Excellent point. Excellent point.
Thank you, Santosh. Thank you for.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Veer.
Okay. Do we have anyone?
I
No.
think let's move on for the next item. I think
Okay, so for list of questions I have covered, now we need to proceed with our live Q&A engagement. So I'm looking forward to have more hands up uh, here. Okay, so please feel free to share your thoughts. If you have any other questions in your mind, please add on.
Can I go ahead? Santosh again this side.
Please, Santosh,
So,
welcome.
like my question is especially to Kannan. I think Kannan, you highlighted one aspect of using AI, but I see a lot of drawback also coming with this AI. I will tell you with an example. So right now we are in a discussion that something on a similar note, which you gave an example that we are having B2B as well as B2C. So this product owner, these guys are simply doing a co-pilot, with AI that can we do the migration, and they are getting yes, and then they are like, it's a very easy stuff. You can go ahead and do it. So I will give you an example. What is happening. So they are just looking at a very small picture that you can do it or not. So they are not looking at the big picture. When we talk about the technical stuff and the challenges, the AI is helping us as well, but this is bringing a lot of problem also, where when you try to highlight the concerns, they are not looking at the detail. They are just looking at the, what is looking at the, you can say, top of the ice. That part they are looking, yes, we can easily do it. So there is no challenges. You should not be coming up with all the challenges which you are highlighting. So how to deal with those scenarios, because it is helping us, but then it is creating a problem also, from their end.
Correct, right. That's why there is a human in the loop, right? Definitely. I mean, we cannot put AI in autopilot mode, but
Correct.
it is true with any tool also. Even in a traditional automation, right? When we try to do it, we always look at what portion of it would require automation, how much. I mean, it is the balancing act, right? No complete straight answer here, no simple answer. Definitely, yeah, human in the loop. And then, for example, when you try to use AI in some cases, right, you have to think through, the confidence, right? You have to measure the confidence with which its output is giving, right? So explainability is something that you can bring in. You also have to do an enterprise context. You have to bring so more context, like garbage in, garbage out kind of a thing, right? So etc etc. There are a lot of those techniques, but definitely, yeah, don't rely on completely on AI, and then in which case we won't have our jobs. But
Yeah.
leverage it also.
No, so we are leveraging it, but this is opening a loophole in a way that the
Mm,
client, whenever you try to highlight something,
mm,
client basically try to do a AI chat, and they feel okay, this is feasible easily, but that's not the case, because there is underlying complexity which is there
mm,
in the system, which client might not be aware of, because when they see that you have to just migrate contact to person account, or you feel like you're just merging two apps, you're not looking into the dependent features or dependent complexity which it will bring up. Okay, so when they simply do a kind of AI search, we are doing it with proper prompts, so you get the technicality of the things. But when they are doing, they are just putting up a statement, you can do it or not. So how to handle such scenario, because sometimes it go a bit harsh to them, that you have to cut down and say that no, whatever you are thinking, that's not correct. Sometimes it works, but sometimes it backfire also, because they feel that we are pushing back too much. So this AI is bringing challenges also. So there I want to understand, if you have been into such scenario, how you had tackled that up.
correct, correct. No, see, it to an extent, right? It comes as with our experience also, and with the conviction, right? You go with. I mean, there are multiple ways, but the ways that I have tried to do reasonably, I've been successful at. Sometimes I also got eaten by my leadership and other places. Is go with do some homework early, and then go with examples, right? Scenarios, so that you don't come out to be like very resistant to changes, right? Because that is in these scenarios, right? Many times, even I'm very sure, if you are in the IT service area, right? Every time you bid for a proposals and RFPs, right? Even the customer is, whether they practically they want to use AI or not, they look for in your proposal response, they look for you being innovative, right? You have to come up with forward thinking, right? So right from the
Correct.
beginning it all starts, right? But when the rubber meets the road, there would be some challenges, right? So go with the balanced approach. So don't come out to be See, if some customer were to say that, yeah, if you, why are you not going to use AI? You can say, yes, I can use AI, but there could be some challenges. And here are some practical examples. So that way you kind of turn this into be that not completely resistant, but you become like a trusted advisor. Could be a way to kind of go.
Got it.
Great point.
Yeah, Meera had a point to add, I guess.
Yeah, no, no, just I wanted to add one more point. I guess I think I can completely understand where Santosh is coming from because most of us are facing the same challenge, I think, nowadays because all the customers, all our managers are getting into the architecture nowadays with the help of AI. They will be coming up with lots of suggestion to us and probably like, we need to spend time on like, analyzing those and, convincing them this is not the right way, this is the way. So
Correct.
like, but there is where I guess we still need to follow our traditional approach where, whenever we are deciding on a particular solution, most of the time we will be coming up with multiple options. And you need to come up with all those options, have the pros and cons in place, the traditional approach of convincing a customer with the right approach. I think if you are still following that approach, then we will have the right solution to convince our customer also.
Till now I'm following the same, but I was myself feeling, last day that, am I being too resistant on this, because they are always feeling, oh, this is achievable, but I am going ahead with too many options, so they should not feel that, I'm pushing back too much. But somehow I have to do so because I have to make them explain that there are challenges. So just thought to get, some insight from you guys. But yeah, I think I should follow the traditional. I have to mix that up.
I like to add a last point, which I can think about, that you can think about the holistic view of your entire business process. Most of the AI right now is the tool based. It is not thinking about in the enterprise architect level, and you should prepare about do's and don'ts. And evidence can only be ready through using some of the things to the either POC or the pilot, considering the entire business process, not just a small pocket size implementation. Okay. Just a thought.
Sure, sure.
Thank you.
Over to you, Virendra. Thanks, I got my answer.
Thank you, Santosh, for
I
bringing.
just want to add one more point. Like the hallucination has been the main problem by the using AI tools. Yeah. So most of the times, like it generally hallucinates the expected answer. Yeah.
Thank
True.
you.
That's a great point.
Yeah. We have few more question from that in Q&A that Kannan already answered. I just want to bring that question again. Subham, if you want to speak based on your question, feel free to speak. If you can explain more about verbally, that will be helpful. Please try to speak. There are some background noise from your side. Okay, fine. Just please try to fix your mic if you can. Let me address that question on your behalf. So Shubham was asking, since we are discussing data model, and the question he has, how can architects design data models in tightly coupled system like Salesforce to handle future changes like field type or size update without pausing uh, or widespread code refactoring. For example, uh, I faced issue when a text field used across many Apex classes needed to be converted to a long text area. I have to make changes to that Apex class and associated text classes. So what kind of thing you are looking exactly? Because the data type changes is we can have a suggestion or we can have all the dependencies or before implementing or changing those data types. So what exactly your questions, if you can try or fine.
Yeah, just to add on to it, I think his problem is, again real, right? When one out in many times, an application that has been there for long enough, if you have quite a lot of data already pre-built, and suddenly, maybe as part of expanding business scenario like acquisitions and other things, right? The context of that particular the information that you are storing could expand, right? uh, or you have reached the limit, right? What you have thought that, hey, this is going to be uh, a kind of a smaller field length. Now you have to expand, right? That is a very straightforward one, but
Mm.
something like that, right? Along these lines, when this happens, how do you handle it? See, this is where, I mean, there's no straight answer. All I could tell is, you know this is where you involve business context, right? I mean, why you have to even move from a text to something else, or something else to text, right? You have to understand the business sense of it. You involve data stewards and data architects, right? Enterprise level architects and business stakeholder, right? You have that understanding. And finally, if that comes down to saying that, yeah, you have to change it, nothing doing, right? Obviously you have to go through this impact, not only within Salesforce, right? It could go spread across other systems also. So my only point there is, if you have to do it, you are in an unfortunate situation of this, try to
Mm.
leverage. Again, my traditional answer is, use certain toolings, right? Don't plan to do all of them manually. That will be very time consuming, and not going to be very effective.
Thank
Leverage tools. There
thank
are
you.
some
Yeah.
impact analysis tools out there. Leverage.
Yes, yes. Thank you. That is the best way to handle that situation. If we have done proper analysis on particular metadata or components, then only we can have a decision either we are going to go ahead with that or not. Okay. If you have big impact, but one thing, like suppose if you are using any impact analysis tool or field dependency, if we are able to identify with those tools, we are able to identify the list of components which is going to be effect, correct, and the records which is going to be fed, but something is not control or something is out of Salesforce. So how can we do that kind of system analysis? Because the integration is happening in a particular field which is available on account object, okay, and that particular field is updating from three legacy systems or three other platforms. But if we are doing impact analysis, we are able to identify within Salesforce only, and the DevOps team has done that integration. We are not fully aware the flow of that particular thing, and that the system or the client doesn't maintain we can say a proper diagram or Confluence pages to understand that. So what will be your approach to deal that kind of situation? Anyone can explain. Meera, so Santanu, Kannan.
So I guess we faced a similar challenge very recently because within Salesforce, there was a field which was not at all used. They went ahead and deleted it. Okay.
Okay.
And they did all the impact analysis, like you mentioned, within internally. The field was not at all used anywhere. There was no data populated in any of the records. So there was no reason to keep it in Salesforce, and they went ahead and just deleted. After
Okay.
deletion, one integration completely started to fail because they were accessing that field and they were trying to do something, so it
Mhm.
got completely failed. So we missed the integration part, right? So I guess we can get into this kind of situation also, but like you mentioned, other than following best practices, I don't think there is any easy solution for this, because whenever we are creating a new field or coming up with something new, it's always very important to maintain a data dictionary where
Mm.
you will be having details about what each field is, what it is going to do, what are the relationship, what are the impacts. All those things needs to be properly maintained and documented. Then only when someone is doing some kind of analysis, they will be able to understand there is a relationship or there is a dependency of this field with some other systems, and they will be able to tackle that. So I guess governance in place is very important in any kind of architecture.
It's a great point. Thank you for this tip. I think it answered your question, Subham, I believe. So blindly we cannot make a decision to change any field or data type or anything. We will have to proper governance maintain there. Either we are using any business impact analysis tool or any other manual uh, co- conference pages or other tools we have or data dictionary in place. Okay, fine. We have next question from Saurav. So this is related to data only. So Saurabh, if you are good to speak, that will be helpful.
Yes.
Please feel
Yes.
free.
So
Thank
this
you.
was a situation I faced in one of my my first project as an architect few years back.
Okay.
So the project that we got, the client already had a Salesforce system, right,
Mhm.
where they had all their B2B data already present in Salesforce system. So they had corporate clients, right, and so it was a B2B data that they had. So it accounted for only 20% of the customer volume, but 80% of the revenue. So the account contact model they followed was a traditional account contact model, where the corporate who was their client was the business account or the account, and all the employees who basically registered on their websites were maintained as contact. So traditional account contact model. So the project that we got was they wanted to now import their retail clients as well, who basically pay directly and are not related to any corporates. They were not corporate employees. And so they were 80% of the volume, close to 4 lakh, customers they had, retail customers, but only 20% of the revenue. So that was a challenge. How should the account contact model now be in this system? And they were very wary of using person accounts, because they do not want it to, first of all, it cannot be turned off. And second is, since they said, person account is mostly for B2C, but their org is, mix of the revenue comes from B2B, as well as they always wanted to maintain the primary relationship between the corporate and their employees. So yeah, I mean, the decision I took as an architect in the first project, I'm still not sure whether that was good, or I should have pushed enough for person account. So since the elite panel is there, I just wanted to, get your views on that what should have been the ideal solution in this kind of a scenario,
Thank
account
you,
contact
Saurabh,
model.
for bringing that kind of questions. This is really great. Okay, I request panelists to go ahead and provide their input.
And I can share what I did as well. I mean,
Yeah, that
either at the end or right in the beginning, as the panel asks.
that is fine. If you have anything to share, that is also good.
Yeah, so again, there was a thing that, after a employee, leaves the company, he can, keep paying up and, be his have his own account. So what I did, enabled the contact to multiple person account, contact to multiple accounts. I maintained the traditional account contact model, and for the retail customers, through automations I create, because a contact cannot be orphan in a Salesforce org, otherwise it would have no visibility. So I created a, account for that contact as well. So just like person account, but instead of using the traditional person account, the, normal account. So I made a record type change. All the corporates were moved to business record type accounts, and for retail customers it was a person account, or the, individual account, I would say.
Okay, so you
And
are
during
leveraging
the
both.
sorry
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, go ahead. Sorry to cut
Yeah, and in the sign up process, I made sure when retail clients were signing up, they had a provision
you.
to, say that they already had an account, and they can input their previous email ID as well, so that, if that is the case, the previous contact which was being used, instead of creating a new one, I would tag their, I would create their own account, tag it as the primary relationship, and keep the corporate account as the second one. But till this date, I'm not really sure if that was the correct thing to do or not.
I
So,
have a question. I have an interesting question. That
sure.
is coming to my mind. Whether you have faced the account scheme or not. That's the one question.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. The second question is the how your reports and dashboards looks like, where they will take the call to action kind of stuffs. So I have that two questions with these
Okay.
kind of implementation. Yeah. Please go ahead.
Yes, skew I have seen, but not in this project, because for this one,
Mhm.
uh, yeah, the skew would be there, but I believe the client, I mean, they did not have that much volume. The traditional account contact model they followed, the volume was very less. I mean, they
Mhm.
had close to 300 or 400 corporates, and only total of 1 lakh employees. So that I did not face, but I understand if it had been a bigger client, that
Mhm.
would have definitely come in the traditional account contact model. Yes, that's true. And the second part is call to action. Again, I mean, it was just a, a transformation project, so we did not get the phase 2 for further enhancement. So it was more about, migrating their old database that they had and transforming it into Salesforce. So
Okay.
that was again something which I did not face in that particular project.
Okay. Because most of the cases I know that the reports and dashboards is the very crucial part, and some
Yes.
cases that we have to send the reports to the leadership team,
Yes.
and they will take the consolidated reports, and you know that the reports and dashboard only the I think 2000 records, I think maximum
Yes.
2000 records can accommodate. So that moment you have to think about how to segment those kind of a accounts, so that that can give you the desired result. Just a kind of a thought.
Understood. It's a good
Absolutely,
one.
absolutely. It's a very, very valid point. I mean, extending to it, right? See, again, see, there's no one size fits all answer here because I mean, I'm sure that you would have taken this decision considering the all other factors in that, particular implementation, right? Like data characteristics and the business characteristics and all. So it becomes very difficult for us to kind of give a one answer, but if you followed certain approach like as Shantanu mentioned, right, if you are to use person account, there are some advantages that comes with that, right? Reduced deduplication, like an enhanced reporting, which better data, clean data, and also it's a standard capability, and then any new changes that comes out of the box, you get auto upgraded, etc., right? But having said that, right, it depends that particular moment. You have to probably, again, as any good architect, you have to see pro and con, and then see the long term viability, and then present that facts, and then validate with your assumption with the business, and then go forward, right? That's all best you can do. And more importantly, document your assumptions that you made at the time, so that your legacy is not broken, right? For example, you have done this, now you have moved forward, someone else comes, right, and says that, hey, this person kind of took all the wrong decision, but you have documented it, right? That's the
Yes,
best you can do.
absolutely. Document is a must.
Yeah.
That
Even
is, I think, where we start from.
even some cases that that you have the accounts and contacts, what are the how the new contacts will log into the system, what could be my authorization and authentication mechanism, two-factor mechanism, multi-factor mechanism. We should consider all those stops also whenever you have a kind of a this kind of a scenario comes. There could not be the ideal answer, but it all depends on the situation based. Thank you.
And just one more question, like how you maintain the relationship between, I guess, like now we have the ACR relationship, right? And probably when you implement it, it was not there, I guess. That's why I guess you went ahead with a custom option of maintaining the relationship with the old account.
No, I use the ACR. I enabled contact to multiple accounts, so ACR
Okay,
was there. But yeah,
okay.
instead of using the person account,
Person
I
account.
had to create a cover account, let's say, for that individual contact. And while signing up, while paying, if they said they already had an account, earlier account, and they give the email ID, and so it was, instead of creating a new contact, I tagged it to its own account, and that employer relation become an indirect relationship in the ACR.
Mhm. And all these contacts were external users to them, right? They have access to
Yes,
the system
external
through
users. So we
portal.
had implemented SSO. Yes.
Okay, okay, got it.
And there was one little interesting aspect as well here.
Mm-hmm.
So all the company employees, I mean the client's employees, also had a free membership as long as they were employees. And in future, they could leave the company but still pay and have
Continue.
those employees, right? So for
Mm-hmm.
them, we did not use the external licenses, and for them, the login was basically their internal AD, whatever the employee alias what they had. So using that, so in future they could sign up and have their own account as well.
Okay, got it.
Okay, let's see if we have a couple of more questions or not. So, team, I think whatever we have received from the Q&A, we have covered. If someone has any questions, feel free to speak directly or post your questions. I think we are good. If we are done so far, so we are not having any questions related to this session. We have covered almost all.
Yeah, we should bring this kind of a sessions, very interactive sessions. I really like the way the questions are coming, people are interacting, audience are participating is really, really good.
Correct. And the agenda of this session is only to bring
Mhm.
together with all the live questions, because sometimes when we see the questions over the portal or forums, that is already answered, but sometimes that users or we are not able to share, so it's a good place to ask. Okay, so I think we are just going to wrap up this session, and before wrapping up, just going to say thank you all our panelists to join us and provided a great insights and provided experience and tips to all the attendees that is going to be helpful in their architect journey and for this series as well. So once again, thank you all the attendees as well to join us today.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
so much, Virendra.
Thank you.
Thank you
Best
all.
wishes to all
Bye.
of you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.